Dada mula jueme, me que hola Fabiano, ao JoyTV, bonu bo, ao JoyTV, bonu bo.
If you talk to a man in a language he understands, you speak to his head. But if you talk to him in his language, that goes to the heart.
With me, I know that with English, when you know it, you will be well able to understand anything that will be taught at school.
Chini kasa, ayeka. Enona yewo yentu munti. Enona meneneka. Atoko school dia Kambon.
To try our best to develop our words, our children said that they can be able to speak our mother tongue.
Who I am is what I speak. I'm an hunter, and so I should speak my language.
You will know him.
Language is the most effective tool for preserving and developing our tangible and intangible heritage. It is by far man's most important asset, through which he can study and understand the values and concerns of the society. Language is essential to every aspect of our human interaction. We use language to communicate what we feel, what we desire, and how we understand the world around us.
English was seen as the language of the lowest class. You can't do education in English. But now look at the situation. So our question to ourselves needs to be, at what point in time do we develop that type of idea of let's do things in our own indigenous languages? Let's develop our own indigenous languages. Let's even look at what the English did as a model, the British did as a model, that look, they used their own indigenous language and then they looked at their relative languages. So you can find German inside of there. You know, it's an Anglo-Saxon language, so Germanic as a root. But you can find degrees of Gaelic, Welsh, French, of course, all these Latin stems. Then they went out of their way to bring in Greek stems, you know, for scientific terms, things of that nature, Latin terms for legal things. So they're saying we're going to take all of our cousins' languages and combine them together. So for us as African people, very rarely do you have any type of concept of, do you know what, let's use perhaps an indigenous African language and combine it with other indigenous African languages.
We communicate effectively with words, gestures, and tone of voice in a multitude of situations. In spite of this, the language used to communicate to a child is different from what is used in the corporate world.
There is a bit of us, our culture, and who we are that is carried through our language.
Language transmits and conveys cultural values and gives the individual a sense of identity. In language, through figurative expressions like proverbs, similes, metaphors, and cultural genres like folk tales, myths, legends, riddles, puzzle, ideas, and values are handed on for the individual to reach their fullest socialization.
You're on a car, and then you hear a parent say, Peter, stop that, drink this, bring that. I'm like, what are you doing? I remember once when I was traveling to Cape Coast, and I was telling a parent, look, what you're doing is not good. Stop it. Say, Kwabna Jai. No one see, do that.
On this program, I want to take a critical look at the state of Ghanaian languages and a growing phenomenon where people feel shy to speak in their mother tongue. Yet, parents are proud to communicate with their own children in English.
Back to him, I said, no, let me start with them that way, so that at least they should pick up very well at school. With me, I know that with English, when you know it, you will be well able to understand anything that will be taught at school, and then you can do much more. You can excel.
Kasa yeka yenu na ewo yen tum. Ti kasa yeka nti akola no onim fitimra yewo no. Kasa ne dana no fitimra yewo no. Nti oko school a obesua brofo but obafia ne de beka twi.
I get angry anytime I see parents speak English to their children.
I think, again, this is where the indigenous African languages come in, because there is a level of moral training in Proverbs. There's a degree of common sense, wisdom that our ancestors have handed down to us. So there's a proverb in Chi, they say, which basically says that if your elders have passed on, have left you in dignified elder language, you don't leave it and then go speak the language of children. But this is essentially what we are doing by, taking up these Eurasian languages.
Children differ in the way they develop their communication skills through speech.
Crack the egg like this. Crack the egg like this.
Nevertheless, nature provides a natural timetable to master these skills for a particular language. It is believed that with the right type of language skills, children develop the required ability to understand, master, and use a number of simple and complicated words as well as ideas. English is the official language in Ghana, thanks to its colonial history. The language is used for all legal, administrative, and official procedures. Of the languages indigenous to Ghana, Akan is the most widely spoken. Nonetheless, there's a developing trend which could threaten local languages. Recently, ethnologists counted at least 79 different spoken languages and dialects in Ghana, with some sources claiming that there are more than 100 different languages. Like most parents, Bacha's father believes that engaging his child in English makes him a better speaker. Nonetheless, if a child spends lots of time speaking English language at the expense of his mother tongue, the child is disadvantaged in relationship to his mother tongue and will not benefit from the cognitive development that comes from speaking more than one language.
Hands on your knees, hands on your knees, hands on your ankles, hands on your ankles, hey!
This latest development is identical to the 20th century England, where children were dissuaded from speaking Welsh because the English had a quest of promoting their language above all languages.
Miss Mary, Miss, can you come up? How dare you speak Welsh in my classroom? Come up here this instant! You should be ashamed of yourself. Now get back to work!
Some experts are of the view that the trend of speaking English at the expense of our local language is deeply rooted in the African who has no pride in what his true nature is.
The child is spoken to in English at home by a parent who is himself or herself not well grounded in English language, and so the child grows up with wrong structures, wrong appreciation of the English language, and the child carries this defect throughout their life. Meanwhile, if this parent has spoken to this parent who speaks the local language very well, has spoken to the child in the local language, what the child was going to acquire was the skill for language.
Even our concept of who we are as individuals, our concept of health, all of that is in the language. So when the language goes, then all of that knowledge, all that indigenous knowledge goes. And there are organizations like CCARD, for example, Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development, that's based here in Accra, Ghana, actually right in Medina, not too far from us, where what they're doing is looking at indigenous knowledge
English was considered by some to be the only suitable medium of instruction. Heads of schools were required to seek the approval of parents before implementing a Welsh Not policy. Additionally, this can be likened to the early 90s, where government schools in Ghana had placards displayed in front of most classrooms with the inscription, "Don't speak vernacular."
Because once they have the background in the local language, they can transfer their skill, and it's easy. And the more languages one has, the easier it is for them to learn other languages too. So if you want your child to learn German, teach them a local language too. Let them know how different languages are. They will learn. And maybe one more thing I should say.
It has been realized that when the mother tongue is used as language of instruction in the formative years of the child, it is usually efficient as a teaching tool, as the first language is a tool of thought. Language is the most effective tool for conserving and developing our heritage. It is the most treasured means through which one can study and understand the values and concerns of his society.
And language skills are transferable. So once the child gains mastery or proficiency in one language, it is easy for the child to transfer to the other one. When they are children, what they are acquiring are concepts, ideas. And once they have a language that they know and is around them, the items that they are talking about, they can talk about them in their own language in a setting that is comfortable for them. They acquire the concept, and once they know the concept, they will just transfer it to the new language which they are going to learn.
When you are teaching in indigenous languages, you know what they call the local language. I prefer indigenous to local, because local is just like what's close to me. When you're saying indigenous, you're saying this is what's mine. You understand, this is what's been handed down to me by my ancestors. That's the concept of indigenous. So I say, oh, let's eat our local foods, let's eat our local. But local, it even lets you know that the English, we're not understanding it very well. You understand? Because when you just are using these terms willy-nilly as though, oh, just local, it lets you know that the depth of understanding that comes with these small nuances, that they are lost on us. You understand? So even that is an example of the fallout of not really understanding our indigenous languages well and not really understanding the English well. So in that sense, we become like ampine, like the bat. You're not fully a bird, you're not fully a mammal, what are you?
It is very normal nowadays to hear most parents speaking English with their children at the expense of the Ghanaian language. They do this with the hope that their children will become better English speakers and enhance their academic performance.
I really think that it comes down to what a lot of the research shows, that children who learn in their mother tongue, that they do so much better even at other languages. They do much better in critical thinking, they do much better in analysis, processing, just various areas. Also, it has social repercussions, whereby the parents, if they are able to interact in their own indigenous languages, that they tend to be more willing to interact with teachers, to participate in various aspects of the child's education. So all of this research has been done, and you have so many successful models in the world of people using their own indigenous languages.
Not because the children are bad English speakers, but because of the bad English language training they may be receiving from their parents. Nonetheless, because these children try to speak the English language at home, they make little or no effort to read, according to a research report by Professor S.I.A. Kote. Atta is the third born of a family of 4. They live in a compound house in Newtown. His mother is a petty trader, while his father is a taxi driver. He's a pupil of the Newtown Experimental School. His mother speaks to him in Chi and allows him to speak English only in school.
Butubu kunsa usua de wo fie papa Antina, a teacher for the catcher, Mr. Mention, you know, born home or dear. Na fe obafia me ne katwi batoko school a okabrofu twi ne ye kasa a ye ka eno na ye wo ye tumunti eno ne me ne ka.
There is a bit of us, our culture and who we are, that is carried through our language. And so when one loses the language, one loses the culture, one loses a part of them. They can't relate to the culture in which they are embedded. And so they become dysfunctional in some sense.
Within his social network, he communicates in Chi and speaks 2 more local languages. His mother is convinced that engaging him in his local language at home will enhance and improve his academic performance. Atta also confessed his mother takes him to their village during vacation to improve his fluency and eloquence in his mother tongue.
When I go home, the language I speak with my family is Akam. When I come to school, the language I speak is English. I speak it fluently, and when my friends speak it, I understand it very well. And in Gantu, I speak fluently.
Bacha is also a pupil of Newtown Experimental School. His father is a graphic designer, while his mother is an accountant. His father is of conviction that speaking to his son in English will help him gain fluency in English language compared to other pupils and will further improve his academic skills.
Only English I was taught at home and in school, so I can't spend time to speak. At home, my parents don't want me to speak any language. Sometimes if they hear me speaking Cree, then they will say I should stop speaking Cree and learn English.
Evelyn Williams is a concerned parent who is of the opinion that encouraging speaking the mother tongue with children helps them interact better in their social circles. She adds that parents who speak the mother tongue with the children gives them advantage over those who do not.
Parents who speak the local language with their children, they tend to get a better grasp of the English language at school, and they do better. Especially coming from parents who did not go to school or who can't speak better English. The children start speaking pidgin, and that also disrupts the academic world.
Though Bacha can barely understand any of the Ghanaian languages, his father stands by the principle of communicating in English to his child, regardless of the effect that might have on his child's development.
If I try to speak Cree and they start to laugh at me that I can't speak it well, so I always speak English with them, and they also understand me. If my friends are talking with me in a different language, I can't translate it in that language, so I have to speak English. So sometimes I feel shy.
It can be contended that primary education is best begun in the child's mother tongue. Against this revelation, it is agreed that students who speak more than 2 local languages are better students academically than those who speak none. In spite of its immense benefit, the mother tongue is being relegated to the background, and the home, which is supposed to lead its use, is hurriedly discounting it. Mrs. Abigail Opoku-Ajiman teaches both Bacha and Atta. With her experience, she expressed concerns about teaching children who barely understand any Ghanaian language. She also confirmed that Atta's ability to speak both Ga and Chi helps him to develop his thinking capacity, which offers him advantage over others in the class, making him the best pupil.
But when we are having our local language sessions, it becomes difficult for Gideon to understand because he is more fluent in the L2, which is the English language, than the L1. So we need to translate the L2 into L1 for him to understand that this is what the madam is talking about. This is what we are trying to get before he be able to apply it in his studies.
Research has shown that as a child grows, his language acquisition develops, and through the language, the child gains personal experience which transmits and conveys cultural values and gives the individuals a sense of identity.
Comparing my two pupils, Bernard and Gideon. Bernard speaks both L1 and then L2 at home, but Gideon only speaks L2 with a parent. He doesn't even understand our basic local language, the Twi, which is very common. So we are realizing that with Bernard speaking all the languages, and apart from his local language, which is Twi, he can also speak some Ga and other local languages. You see, it enhances his learning. It makes him understand any type of sound we come out with. He's able to associate it with the language and then get a better understanding of everything we are teaching him.
Society now perceives parents who do not speak English with their children as being backward and ignorant. As a remedy to correct this, Miss Evelyn Williams suggested that the use of the mother tongue in the basic level helps to strengthen and build a proper foundation for the child.
Are you Twi or Hausa?
Parents should be advised, or during PTA meetings, the teachers can talk to the parents to speak the local language with them. Even in the GES, it's advised that children in lower primary are taught in the L1. And so if parents are encouraged to speak the L1 at home, I think it will put a stop to that erroneous conception about speaking the L2 at home. So PTA meetings and also maybe the media taking it up will help the parents to know that it will be better to speak the local language with their children.
Malcolm X, where it says if you look at how other people have resolved their issues and solved their problems, you can look at that and perhaps develop for yourself a template of how to resolve your own issues.
Those who grew up in compound houses where different families lived, all the children in the house, compound house, grow up speaking all the languages there, and they don't get impaired in any way. So if the child can acquire Ewe and Akan and speak them well, there's no reason why the child cannot acquire Ewe and English and speak them well.
Our local languages deepen our cultural heritage and tells where we come from and where we're going. When languages die, cultures die, and the collective identity of countless people who speak the language throughout its history is lost. Against this orientation, the aspirations buried and what makes them unique is wiped away forever.
There is a book that I read a few years back called Vanishing Voices, and basically what it goes into is how many of these languages, many of the world's languages in the next 50 years will vanish, they will disappear, and along with them are potential cures for diseases. You know, it's not every civilization or not every people who I would say who have cancer or who have diabetes or who have this or who have that, but a lot of the information on the specific herbs that they take, the specific foods that they eat, you know, the types of interactions that they have socially and, you know, so forth and so on, that all of that is embedded in their language.
This is because language and culture are strongly connected, such that one cannot separate the other without harm.
Even on the English that we're saying we've been doing since forever, we're not doing very well at that. But then, you know, there are some people who are served by us not doing well, because you may get one or two who get it and then fine, you become minister, but then what's going on with the rest of your country?
Records show that 230 of the world's languages have become extinct due to neglect, documentation, or lack of usage since 1950. The UNESCO Language Atlas says about half of the 7,000 languages of the world are endangered. Though the focus of this piece is losing the mother tongue to the English language, it is significant to highlight how some local languages are losing out to other languages. It is an agreed fact, the closer a community is to an urban settlement, the likelihood of that community losing its language to the urban settlement. The Ahanta language, for instance, is a dialect spoken by the Ahantas in the western region. The language is significantly losing grounds to the Fanti people, largely due to myths, misconceptions and confusion attributed to the attitude of the speakers.
Accra is an Ahanta land, but because we have a lot of Fantis in here and our people not being ready to identify themselves as Ahanta to speak their language, it has made the Fanti take over. So if you come to Takrady now, it is the Fanti that is dominating. So that is one of the factors that people thought that because people have likened us to people who kill ourselves and kill people who are progressing, I don't want you to think I am this person so that you become my friend.
My biggest regret not being able to speak Ahanta as my mother tongue or my own language is that we have even a radio station here that I am a management member. Sometimes they would want me to do a program. Now it is also in our rules that we do 70% of Ahanta language and we do 30% of other languages. Now all my colleagues on that very management team can't speak the Ahanta language, with the exception of myself. So whenever we are having that program on air, I am to speak for all and sundry within our domain to listen to me or to hear of me. But anytime I come on, all that I speak is fancy, and so I know it doesn't go down well with my people.
Several of us have come to even hate our own identity as Ahantas. When I mentioned that I'm an Ahanta, the lady I was speaking to asked me, "Hey, it means that you will be a very dangerous person." I said, "How dangerous?" "Oh, but your people, all we know is that you kill yourselves and you kill people."
Samuel Kojo Brace is a young, passionate Ahanta man with a family of 2. He believes that not speaking Ahanta makes him an advocate of the extinction of his language.
And having gone through school, I have seen how my language is on the blink of extinction. And if I know this about my language, it means that where lies my education if I also contribute to the extinction of my language. So being the hunter I am so passionate about helping to make my language stay and not extinct.
As far as you are an Ahanta, you are born, bred, buttered, the language must be at your fingertips. Many a times people say they don't understand their mother tongue language or they can't speak it. It's very funny. They themselves, they are making it rather difficult for them to ignore it. But they can speak it. They'll be standing somewhere and say, "Oh, I don't understand." No, it's not like that. They are not serious.
Brace highlighted the confusion between the Ahanta and the Nzima, as many people assume.
Because now, if you ask a lot of people, if you speak Ahanta now, people will ask you, "Are you speaking Nzima?" You know, so even though the Ahanta is there, a lot of people feel that it is all Nzima. So the only thing I can do is to draw that distinction to say, yes, it is similar to Nzima, and there is just a small difference between my language and Nzima.
Brace expressed interest in how other languages such as Ebe is spoken proudly, while shame clouds people who speak their Ahanta.
I want Ahantas to speak Ahanta so we can identify ourselves. Today when I hear Ebe speak, I'm encouraged. I'm like, wow. But you meet 2 Ahantas, possibly in Accra, they will be speaking Fanti, or they will be speaking Chi, or they will be speaking English. People can't identify who you are if you don't speak your Ahanta.
Moreover, a young man whose identity is withheld is of a different opinion. He believes that the Ahantas have a bad history coupled with a dented image.
I'm from Central Region, but I'm from in town couple. Into one year, a hunter for Mubusafu, a promoter, one watch read them a hunter. But the reason why I tell you, Munko baby, I'm a hunter, didn't bought tomorrow there, maybe I'm papa a hunting because of Subana, who get a 1 year. Into the Musumani and Turama, at times, and I want baby, one fellow overcome one language maybe at.
Could this possibly be one of the challenges affecting the appreciation of the language by its own people?
So by that tag, a lot of us who could have helped the language stay have not identified ourselves as a hunter. So we've adopted second languages. Either we speak Fanti, or we speak Twi, or we speak Ga or English predominantly.
Parents speaking English to their children at home and in public is an unacceptable practice to people such as Brace, who is so passionate about his mother tongue.
I get angry anytime I see parents speak English to their children. For instance, you're on a car and then you hear a parent say, Peter, stop that, drink this, bring that. I'm like, what are you doing? I remember once when I was traveling to Cape Coast and I was telling a parent, look, what you're doing is not good. Stop it. Say it. Kwabna Jai. No man see, do that.
We should start with the Hunter language before we go on to speak the English or any other language. And so make an answer.
Nana Ejakwamina, divisional chief of Apremdo, submitted that speaking one's mother tongue offers the people in the language some sense of pride and worth.
Dumela. Kankunye yambambani mo bo the kabebre ebe mo de kabafaya professors bi mo so the bishops kaya kapo ya Catholic bishop my head.
It is obvious that lots of the indigenous languages of Ghana are in danger and could even be lost in the next few generations.
Learn English and speak English in the schools. But when they come home, let us try our best to speak our languages to them.
If you know one shot only when
I speak Chi at home with my children because I want them to get a better grasp of the local language.
I think that here in Ghana we're kind of lagging behind on this, but you know, across the continent you have shining examples. You have people who are doing PhDs in Kiswahili in various areas, who are doing it in Amarinya, and as we mentioned before, the Ge'ez script, and who are writing all of their information in this. So once we understand that this is a model that we can follow, then I think that things will naturally take its course. You don't have to force someone. Once they see this is beneficial, then you know they can advise themselves.
Considering the fact that language loss is always accompanied by loss of the culture, it behooves all well-meaning Ghanaians to do all they can to prevent the extinction of the country's endangered languages. Because the success of every great country is based on its knowledge foundation.
Eja kwesine ba wonyin kwa abiase won soy wonyin kwe nyina se enyina boba abomeba chi me chi